Camille and I both had the right idea, with matching Workspace ONE t-shirts for us today, so that's good.
Fully branded.
Yeah, I never wear it, so I was like, but then I never. Just put the whole. Can I just share the screen completely? Doesn't seem like it. Okay. Just, of course, if I'm not in sure.
The uncoordinated t-shirt choice as well. At least we're aligned in many ways. That's great, Camille.
Right, that should be the good one. So everybody can see the slides?
Yeah, I can.
Cool. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Camille Debay. I'm French, so apologies for some grammar mistakes. I'm a staff customer success architect based in Milton Keynes, Concrete Cow and all that. I've been with VMware for the past 5.5 years now, almost 6. Joined part of the PSO team in the Outage days, then move on to TAM and now customer success. And in the past, I was used to be working in France as Microsoft consultant for a partner. So a lot of Microsoft technology and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of background in modern management in old ways, PCLM and new ways, etc. Adam?
Fantastic. So my name's Adam Matthews. I'm a senior solution engineer at VMware. So I'm part of the EUC business unit looking after Workspace ONE. Similar location to Camille. I live in Aylesbury, wonderful Aylesbury. I've been at VMware for just over 5.5 years now. I joined back when the company was called AirWatch by VMware. And it was just moving into VMware AirWatch at the time. I started as a technical account manager covering AirWatch's enterprise accounts. So doing everything from first line support for the enterprise customers through to dealing with strategy. So did that for about 2.5 years, then moved into the pre-sales team looking after commercial, so mostly London and London South. And then moved into global accounts where I now look after Northern Europe for EUC at VMware. I first presented to VMUG London January 30th last year. So I think my last public speaking gig was at VMUG last year. It was actually the third to last time I left the house for work in 2020, apart from 2 days of training in February. So yeah, happy to be back on the team.
All right. So today we're going to talk about Workspace ONE and specifically around modern management. Just one thing before we dive into it, a little disclaimer, which probably everybody knows, but we're going to show you some tech preview features, so you know the drill for all that. But yeah, you can test it in some environment, in the Workspace ONE environment in the cloud, but it's not GA yet. But it's there for everybody to test. So. Right, so some information about us, some blog, some Twitter, and whatnot. Right, let's dive into it. So first of all, what is modern management? Right, it's a lot of buzzword these days where, oh, you're not doing modern management for Windows. Well, you should. A lot of things that you can see in the different blog posts or Gartner is that there is unified endpoint management, right, which cover all the platforms. And then when you start digging into it, you can say that there is mobility, there is VDI for some use cases, and then there is this piece which is managing desktop and modern management. So what we call modern management is basically to have this consistency and unified approach in terms of managing the EUC estate. So you can have different products, you can have different platform, but the point is that you should have the same type of best practices in terms of managing your devices, having a unique interface, so you don't have to go through 3, 4, 5 different platforms to manage your devices. And also, and that's something which came across a lot more in the past few years, is the employee experience, especially when you start having people at home now, where, well, it's not as easy as before. So you want to make sure that when they're using the laptop, it's working great, they don't have much issue or blue screens or latency and all that. So in the traditional environment, we can have those things. Adam?
Absolutely. So just as a picture of what we traditionally see when we go in and speak to a customer who's either on the journey or considering moving to a modern approach, we see an awful lot of different technologies taking different parts of the estate. So traditionally, we would see along the management plane, we would have tooling for your mobile estate, so typically separated iOS and Android. We would then see another tooling for maybe macOS only. Sometimes you might integrate your iOS devices in there, but typically you'd have something like Jamf managing just your macOS estate. Then if you use tools like Chrome OS, Chromebooks, you'd have the Google suite managing those. And then when you do have your traditional Windows 10 estate or your Windows 7 estate, as you know, some probably still exist somewhere, you would then have Config Manager from Microsoft running a lot of that integration, and potentially some cloud attachment towards Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Then if you do have some really specific use cases, if you've got some ruggedized devices, traditionally handheld scanners or tools that are used in warehouses, you might have a tool like SOTI to manage those specific use cases. Then you've managed your platform with 4 or 5 different tools. You then have to layer on security, so you'd have different tooling for next-gen antivirus, web access firewalls and gateways, and then potentially for identity, 2 or 3 different systems, whether that's Active Directory Federation Services, Azure Active Directory, or the likes of Ping, Okta, to manage on a cloud IDB basis. You've got multiple different stacks there to manage. Then going into your virtual desktops, you may have Citrix or Nutanix or something else running along that plane. And then to try and manage experience and remote access, you'd have different tooling for accessing the desktops. Maybe you might have one tool for managing your Windows desktops, one tool for managing your Macs, one tool for managing your mobiles. And then, of course, on all of these devices from the end user perspective, they've got different app stores and catalogs. So you might have an iOS app store, you might have an interface into different app stores, and each Mobile Iron Jamf System Center will all provide their own different hubs. So when you are using, let's say you've got a Windows machine and an iPhone, you're going to have a different experience across those. You're going to have different solutions running, different access applications, and it's a headache to manage across the board there. I'll go to the next one, please, Kimmy. So with Workspace ONE, we have been working very hard to unify all of this together. So Workspace ONE is a coming together of what was known as AirWatch in the past into Workspace ONE UEM, a solution called Workspace ONE Access, and then along with the Horizon portfolio to bring the virtual desktops and apps in. So this allows us to deliver everything that we see on the left-hand side here, management, security, single sign-on, all integrated into one single platform, whilst also taking some of the best of breed solutions that you may still need to use. So while you can use Carbon Black for all of CrowdStrike functionality, VMware Tunnel for Zscaler, and Workspace ONE Access for Ping, those tools might be embedded, they may be meeting the exact needs. So we can make sure we work with those to deliver a proper solution, which obviously maximizes what you have in your estate already. It's all about making sure you get the most out of what you have and reducing the amount of tool sets you have in your environment. So with that, we see a few key pillars of what modern management actually is. So we see them traditionally as employee experience, and I spoke about employee experience last year at VMware London in January. unified management, bringing everything together in one place, allowing you to then do remote support across all of these different tools, because it's all well and good having all the policies down, but when a user does have a problem, if that arises, you need to be able to get to that user really easily, really fast, without having to put loads of money in to get that access. But also then buzzwords these days, AI, machine learning, all of the analytics and automations that we can do on top of this as well. So we can make sure that if a device battery is dying, we can detect that. We can raise a ticket in a system that will then order you a new one, send the user notifications saying it's coming, so that that user never has any downtime, and we've predicted something happening and we've automated the remediation for it. So going into the first topic here for employee experience. So one thing that we are very key on is giving our users and your users a simplified environment, and that is with what we call the Intelligent Hub. So what the Intelligent Hub does, it allows us to have a single application that's unified across all platforms. If you go to the next slide, please, Camille. Let's go to the next one after that as well, because this one's just a little overview there. So what the Hub does is it's a single application that provides single sign-on for web apps. So whether that's SaaS apps to Office 365, Horizon desktops, you can get straight into a Horizon desktop or an app, even a Citrix app directly from this portal. Also install native apps on your desktop and access general web links as well. And there's all of this integrated within one unified hub that looks exactly the same across all platforms. What IT managers can then do in HR is allow you to provide really good recommendations to your users. So whether that's a help desk portal, whether that's a web page to provide access to work from home accessories. And one of the probably the most clicked links at VMware at the moment is a little work from home catalog where we can order our devices and peripherals. We can also communicate with users via this tool as well. So not only can you get all your access to all your applications and it's across platform, we can also send things like don't come to the office is closed, which may become a thing as we move into trying to get back into work in some sort of hybrid approach. Whether that's Office 365 is down, which as we know Azure has occasional outages, and sending an email to people, telling their email is down, generally doesn't work. So what we can do is send a ping to all of the devices that a user has, just saying, hey, IT, Office 365 is down. Please don't raise a support ticket, which in some cases can cost quite a lot of money, which means people can get access to everything. And also one tool that I use day to day is People Search. So it's a really robust enterprise directory built straight into the Intelligent Hub, allows you to find anyone within your organization within a few clicks, and really helps when you are on a few meetings with people you may not know, or you need to find someone's manager for whatever reason, all from one single application. So yeah, very brief high level there. And as you can see across all platforms, you'll see the same applications across there. You'll see the same recommendations. So wherever you are, you're going to get a unified experience.
Thank you, Adam. So yeah, you can see that the same icons everywhere, so it's very user-friendly. But one of the things as well we need to have is, so employee is great, right? But we shouldn't forget about the admins doing the work every single day, right? And with Workspace ONE VEM, we are capable of giving a unified layout across the board of each platform, right? So we can provide some dashboard by default, but then you can manage your profile. So what we call profile in UEM is all the configurations that you want to deploy to your devices. So you can see that each platform have obviously their own type of settings, but because the assignment is dynamic and can be based on users, you can base your policy, so your security policy, your configuration policy based on user group and population. So if you want to target finance, you just have to take the smart group for finance, which is plugged to your user group, and then you deploy whatever required. So you can offer your users whichever platform fits their needs. Which is great because you know it's going to be secured with all the security tool you're using, and that it's going to be configured the way you want it. for each platform, even though each platform is different, right? When you configure an iOS device, it's not the same protocol as a Windows device and so on. But UEM allow you to have the same interface for everything. Same for the applications. You can deploy those applications, internal application, public applications, with licensing associated as well. You can integrate with ServiceNow to have an approval workflow. We have developed Windows Desktop public application portal, which allow you to directly import well-known application like Firefox or Chrome. Instead of going to Chrome website, downloading, uploading, and whatnot, you just go to enterprise repository, look for Chrome, and add it to your catalog. So it makes things more straightforward and easy to manage. And from an end user perspective, as we saw, it's in the same catalog. So if we take iOS devices, for example, they won't have to go to the App Store to look for the app. They just go there. There is all the screenshot descriptions. They can rate the apps. You can extract the rating as well. That's very important to know if you like it or not. So that's really something which is very important applications as well.
Yeah, moving on to remote support here. The biggest surprise that I've had in the past couple of years is how popular remote support has been. It's a great tool, and there is a lot of incumbents in the market, things like TeamViewer, Bomgar. And with Workspace ONE, we have a solution called Assist, which is a cross-platform remote support tool. So whether you are on iOS, Android, Linux, Mac OS, Windows 10, you can access that desktop. If it's on desktop applications or Android, you can also send files or access the command line. So you can do remote shell on a lot of the devices that you have access to. With iOS, it's a little bit more restricted because iOS is more restricted as an OS. We can do remote view and a few other bits and pieces there. But the key is, big challenge with support is around how do we guide users through a challenge, or how do we get access to certain applications or certain things. I started my career as a support desk analyst, and the amount of times I've spent trying to guide someone through the settings menu of a phone or a computer, saying click here, click there, do this, click this. If I could just go on and show them how to do that, that would have been amazing. I don't believe in doing things to everyone all the time. It's always good to show and guide through. One of the things you can do here is draw on people's screens with like a virtual whiteboard. So you could even like circle the button if someone's saying I can't see the option. You can draw an arrow to it and they can go and click on that, which is really great. You can also record all the sessions that you do as well. So if you do have a support desk agent resolving something, they can, and they've seen it before maybe, and they've got another challenge with it, they can record a video straight from here or take screenshots. That can then be shared in a KB or an internal article. So you can save that knowledge and share that with the rest of the help desk. So once someone has done something once, that knowledge can be shared using the recording that's built from Assist. And it's really, really great tool.
One thing I'm going to add on Assist is two things. First of all, the interface of seeing the screen of the device is full HTML5. So you just need to have a browser to manage those devices and see what's going on. So no heavy clients to have, no nothing, just a browser and you're done. Secondly, is that the access to Assist is driven by UEM, which allow you to use all the RBAC capabilities of UEM on Assist. So you can delegate to some people remote control while you block other people to not be able to. So you can segregate which person can access devices and the one who cannot. And one thing I just remembered, we can do unattended mode for kiosk as well, which is very important in retail. So that's the kind of thing we can do. Once you have all that, one of the things piece missing is how do you analyze that? How do you make sure that everything is going according to plan? A lot of times, if you take old PCLM tool like SCCM, you would have to extract the information and put that in some BI tool to draw some dashboard to expand and fit that in the business process, and so management can have an overview of what's going on. But with intelligence, we have different product. The first thing is DEEM, which is stands for Digital Employee Experience Management, which allow you to have analytics on the user experience. So is the device having problem with CPU or RAM? Is the mobile device having a problem with some internal application? So you can integrate with Apptelligence, which is our intelligence SDK, which allow you to analyze everything that what the user is doing on the mobile applications or internal applications. So you can track for internal application and know what's going on, so the developer can improve either UX or the overall behavior of the applications. But then on that, you need to be able to drive your business and make sure that your business processes are followed, and you are able to say yes. So for example, if security asks you where we are with this patch of updates for Chrome, then you can pull out a report cross-platform saying, hey, this is where we are with Chrome deployment across the board, and okay, that's great. Or the business can say where we are in terms of licensing, what do we have in terms of applications which require a license, everything you can think of, because intelligence allow you to draw your own report. So you have a big data lake which will crunch everything for you and draw dashboards and reporting, and you can subscribe to it, and there is even an API that you can call, so you can integrate that in your own BI tools if you need to. But then once you have done the analysis, sometimes you know that something will happen and you want to take action on it, and then that's when you will have the automation piece, so which allow you to deploy new software based on rules. So for example, in the screenshot, you can see we want to make sure that the CVE 2020-0690 is deployed to the devices, but we approve it. We create a ServiceNow ticket, so it's tracked in ServiceNow as well for support in case of problem. You can put that in Slack if you're using Slack for the user, so you can have notifications and so on. So you can definitely have more than just seeing what's going on and then take action manually and create the scripts, etc. You can do that in intelligence. You can see at the top as well that we have integration with different security tools. We call that the trust network. So we have Carbon Black, but we integrate with CrowdStrike, Lookout, Zscaler, and the list is growing and growing. Because basically, I mean, as Adam said earlier, sometimes not our tool are fitting your needs. So you need to integrate with other tools which are doing a better job than us. And that's fine. And you should be able to use them in our software. And that's where the trust network come in play, is that you can grab the information of those tools and take actions through UEM. And you can even take actions on access to do more conditional access. So there is a lot of different things that you can do to improve the security, the user experience, and the overall admin experience as well. So in terms of automation, there is a new tool which is called Freestyle Orchestrator, and it's allowing you to organize and sequence profile applications in certain order. So the workflow work in a sense where, for example, the user is going to enroll. You want, first of all, you want to have your device encrypted first. Okay, and then after that, you want to have software, security software first. Okay, and then you want to have different applications. And for example, if you want to install the Zoom plugin, right? We all know you need to have Outlook first, but how can you organize that first in UVM? In the past, you couldn't do so because basically when you enroll, you deploy everything at the same time. There is no order. It's because you have to remember that UVM comes from MDM, which is mobility, and on a mobile, well, you can install 3-4 applications at the same time. It doesn't matter. There is no interaction between them, right? However, on desktop, well, sometimes it's important to have this order. So how do you do that? Well, you have 3 phases. The first phase is going to be, well, you need to provide all the apps, the profiles, the scripting, the sensors, all that preparation. So then you can create your workflow and define the conditions on where you're going to apply this profile and not that one, and this application after the other one. And then after that, you're going to monitor how the rollout is going. And that everything is going to be part of UEM for that, which is great because it allows you to reuse everything from UVM, from profile to application to sensors to script. All the things that nice things that you have in UVM, you can use them. So in terms of interface, it's quite neat because you have a visual-like interface. You have two type of interface. We're going to see that, but the nicest one is this one is visual like, so it's very visual and easy to understand. So for example, in this example, we can see macOS, which will install the productivity app, which include Outlook, Zoom, and Slack. And there is different logical blocks that you can move around and add, so you can test if the application exists, or a registry key, or whatever script for macOS. We'll see that a bit later. We have scripting now for macOS and Windows. You can remove version, install a new one, test that it's a new version, and proceed further down. So it's very logical. So as an example, this one is enrollment. So an enrollment flow. So you're going to say, I want to set the host name. So this one is for macOS. You can see that because we're checking if it's the Catalina version. So, and then after that, I proceed to install the latest Outlook. So the good thing is when you say it's the latest Outlook, even if you update within Workspace ONE UEM, your Outlook version, you won't have to update your workflow. Automatically, it will use the latest available. Once I've installed Outlook, I'm installing Zoom, Assist, and the plugin, and then I set the wallpaper, and I can notify the user that it's finished. As you can see, for the notifications, we're using ZSH command line to do a notification directly with Hub CLI, which is a tool specifically to macOS, and so we can notify the user it's available.
Yeah, what will happen there with that script runs is you'll just get a little pop-up in the top right-hand side of your Mac where you usually get notifications with a button you can click that will bring you back to that hub that we spoke about earlier. So in this one, it's specifically going to open up the hub application and tell you that you're all ready to go. So then the user can just get going with their day. They're not having to wait while their Mac or their machine is locked down while things are installing. And then when things are all ready, it will let them know. So then theoretically, they haven't got to engage with anyone on the IT side when their device is getting provisioned. It should all be done for them. Yeah, and similarly scripts as well, right? So we've been used to the notion of profiles in managing mobiles for a long time, and obviously with Windows 10 and Mac, it's a very similar experience. The idea with Workspace ONE is once you know how to manage one platform, you know how to manage every platform. So here we can then say run a bash script in this case. So the last one was Z shell, this one's a bash example. PowerShell is also available for the Windows side. But here we can then set host names based on what we've got configured, and we can then return output as well. So we can also do troubleshooting within this system. Basically, exit 0 means success, exit 1 or anything else is a failure, which means you can do if statements, and you can be as complicated or as simple as you need to be within here. You can then execute them on demand as well. So if there was maybe a step that needs to be run where installing an application doesn't quite fit the bill, installing a profile doesn't quite fit the bill, you can then run these scripts either periodically, as we see here, run them on enrollment. You can run them on log out, log in, user switch, which is quite useful if you're using shared devices and you need to reset something once the user has logged back in. We can then, as we see in the bottom of this screen here, display in hub. What that'll do is it'll add an extra icon in the hub where the user can click this button and it will kick this script generation and it will run that on the device. Which means that then they don't have to potentially call IT to fix basic issues. Or if one of your applications is scripted to be installed, you can click that script and it will kick that off. So if you're doing things like Homebrew or running a certain installer that generally you run via terminal on Mac, that can all be done via here now. And then time windows as well. There are some times of the day where maybe you don't want to have this running. So you can then pick, this can only run within the maintenance window. Yeah, exactly. Go through into the time windows piece here. I did. Yeah, so here we can see maintenance hours. So if your organization has got a defined change window, you can then set when all of this stuff can run. And this can be applied to various different parts of the platform as well. So you can have different schedules. You could schedule maybe for, the holiday period, for Christmas. You could schedule for around bank holidays. A lot of my customers in the US will schedule around Thanksgiving and then lock things down until after Christmas, or they'll have a little window in the middle where they can do certain things. So this allows us to bring that flexibility into Workspace ONE without having to sort of manually think, right, I need to make sure I don't push this profile tomorrow, I push it next week. Take some of that automation back into the platform.
One of the things as well we added is extended attributes. So the idea is that we had sensor for about 2 years now, so sensors is the way of getting information from the device. So on one hand, you have the get, which is sensors, and you have the set, which is script. So sensors allow you to run different type of scripts and returning the information, so you can have this information back. But for example, you shouldn't have to write the sensors to get the computer name or the CPU or the RAM or whatever it may be. Those kind of things should be part of the product. So we have introduced that with Orchestrator, so it allow you to expand the conditions on which the workflow will apply or not. So, and it's very extensive. So there is plenty of different attributes that you can target. So it's make the workflow more smooth and less work for the admins. In terms of tracking, we have a dashboard per workflow, which will tell you what's going on, the failure rate, if it's pending, if it's in progress, if it's completed, etc. You will have a display as well of the workflow, so you don't have to edit to see what are the steps. And also per device, you can see if it's completed, etc. And when you click on the status itself, it will give you the detail of the status, if has it progressed, at which step it is since the last information sent back from the device. or if it's failed, it will tell you which step have failed, and we give you some logs as well. So if it's PowerShell, for example, it will tell you PowerShell had an issue, or Zscaler had an issue to find whatever it may be, or the application didn't install, and so on. So it's very easy to follow and track what's going on those devices. One of the things as well we have added is what we call desired state management. So idea is we should have workflow where we want to flag that some application should stay on the device and if a user, for example, which can sometimes uninstall application where you want to make sure that this application will come back, then we say in the workflow, reinstall if removed, and we can do that for different parts of the workflow. So you can reapply directly if it's been installed. So there is periodically check that the workflow is still compliant, and you can say, I want to reinstall this application if the conditions are still met and the application has been removed. So let's show you a bit of the stuff, right? Right, where is it? That's the problem of having too much. There you go. Sure. So you should see handle corp and whatnot. You can see here, so you can see my screen, right? You can see my.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there is different. As you can see, you can create as much workflow as you can, obviously. And then when you click on the workflow, you can see what's going on. So here I can see there is 2 devices eligible, and then further down I can see which one is in progress, which one is completed. And for example, if I click on progress, I can see this one is at install edge, and this one is completed. So I can see everything is completed as expected. That's great. I have a detail of the workflow, and if it's a long workflow, you can still click to, move things around. And you can see what are the resources used. So for example, here there is, as an application, there is Edge, there is Zoom, there is Mac OS, and there is sensors for Mac OS.
Yeah, one script that calls a similar script that we saw earlier. It will notify the user that the device is ready to go. And then the 12 volt enabled script does a check against the Mac system to see if 12 volts turned on and complete. And if it is, it will return 1 back to the system, and then it will allow this process to work. So that's what that is encrypted part does there. And you can name a lot of these steps as well. So you can call these steps pretty much what you want to make sure that they are valid and easy to read.
Yeah, so as you can see, it's very visual, the visual way. After that, you can have more scripting-like, I would say, and more linear. But then, yeah, you can have different things. You can zoom out, you can zoom in. Sounds easy, but yeah, it's quite nice. And then if I take Windows, for example, which have a bit more, for example, if I click on fail here, it will show me the fail. I can see here I've made a mistake on, so here parse exception on line 2, there is the if key missing after the if statement. So okay, I can go to this script and go modify it, and then it will redeploy it. So you can see it's very neat to see what's going on. For example, this one were not met as a condition, so I have different information. I can check the TPM, install BitLocker. If the BitLocker is enabled, I can install the corp wallpaper, install Zoom, put the ASIC tag, and rename the computer on the fly. So you have different things in there. So And then you have, we have centralized, so that's something which happened when you enabled Freestyle. We centralized application sensor scripts, etc. Because before, if I show you my lab, if I'm still connected, you will see that, for example, the profile were in devices, the application had their own part here, etc. So it was getting a bit messy when you wanted to manage everything. So now you have resources which have everything in there. You don't need to go anywhere else to have all your resources. And so you have your applications, as you can see. You have your antenna application, whichever platform. This one's in macOS, this one is Windows. As I said, you have the enterprise app repository that you can add an application, whichever it may be. So for example, I select Firefox. If there is an update coming up for Firefox, you can notify the admins, say there is a new Firefox, you want it or not. And then you will have the logo, you have everything set up. You can see the install command is pre-configured, and you save it. And the only thing it does is import the application for you. So you won't have to do it, and then you can edit, right? It's not assigned yet. You can change the deployment options, etc. It's just to make it more easy for the admins to import everything, and there's already the icon and whatnot, etc. So it's already with the right stuff. Just to make it more easy, and you have the right version. And then you can save and assign and give that to the users, either on demand or automatically, and you're good to go. And you have the public apps, etc., for iOS, Windows Desktop. So you can see that it's very easy from a unified point of view for the admin. Same for the profiles. You can see you have all the different platforms, and then you can switch depending on which platform you're targeting. So it's make it easy for each admin. Even though your company is still, we see that companies tend to merge between desktop and mobility. But if you still have two different teams, then they can like filter per platform and see what is there.
So you can even have your app development teams integrate with Workspace ONE and only have access to the applications part. You can also integrate it with your development pipeline as well. So if you want to have Jenkins publishing code into Workspace ONE that automatically gets deployed to the end devices, that's really possible with Workspace ONE. It's really amazing.
Exactly. And for example, scripting, we show that we have the possibility to add that in the app catalog. So one of the things, for example, you could have like a PowerShell script which fixes my printer, and write down, whatever script you have. You can upload a script if you want to. So if I take one example, this one do Windows P, but we don't care. The point is that you can import your script. It can be very complicated, very long, doesn't matter. And it really, you can target the architecture. It can be interesting for the architecture for Windows people, because you know that sometimes in the registry you can't target the same. And you can as well target the user context. So make it more easy to say, hey, I need to be in the user context to target the current user register keys. Therefore, it's easier and whatnot. One of the things, and very nice, is that we have the possibility to use variables. And those variables you can use the automated value from Workspace ONE. So for example, if you have a script which, there is a bug with the display, but if you have a script which going to use the username of the user as an input, well, you don't have to create thousands of scripts for that, right? You just create one script, and in the variable just say it's the enrollment user lookup value, and then here you're going to use put a key, which would be call it the space. And then if you want to use that in your PowerShell, you're going to my var equal, and it's going to be for at least PowerShell in Windows and app. And then you have access to your variable, which is this one, right? So it makes it very easy after that to think of different use case. Also, if you put passwords, they're going to be encrypted. So you can be sure that the user won't be able to access it, and it's not run through calling PowerShell either. We are using the .NET C# automation piece, so we call our own PowerShell and build everything up. So it's not PowerShell.exe launch, so you can't catch directly the password and so on. So it's very neat.
That's the same on Mac as well, with encrypting all of the scripts that go down. It's completely hidden to the user. So the user, if they're a smart user, they can't go in and fish out all these scripts that are being done. Traditionally, you would have staged your scripts in a folder somewhere in library on Mac and called them. And obviously, yeah, if you've got API passwords or anything else, that's not exactly the most secure way of doing it. So this is a brilliant way of doing that.
Yeah,
and the variable doesn't have to be a lookup either. You can type in your own information there as well if you want to.
Exactly. And as you can see, all I'm doing is using the same interface, whichever platform I'm targeting, right? I'm more a Windows person. Adam is more a Mac person, right? And we can both, use the same platform, and you won't have to say, oh, right, your SCCM should go here, your Gem should go here. Just use that, and you won't have to think about anything else. You have one product to cover it all. So it makes it very easy. So for example, another thing I can show you is device update. For example, we have Windows, we have iOS, we have macOS, and you can see that you can target different things. We have OEM update as well. Have nothing because it's Dell related, so I don't have Dell devices, but you would see Dell stuff in there. Android should come up at some point as well. So you can see that the interface is very straightforward. Same for sensors. We should use script, but if I should use sensors, for example, Mac Volt, in the detail, it will run a command in the system and return that type as string. You can put Boolean, different type, and then add variable if you need to, and then save and assign. It will come up in the this one, yeah, isn't it?
That one should work. Yeah.
Should be, yeah. And you can see macOS sensor one. So you have the logo as well. So this one doesn't have any because it worked. And for the script, you can see workflow failed. This one say command not found.
That was me writing the command wrong. So that's good.
There you go. So
sure.
you can see it's very easy to see and straightforward to see what's going on. So yeah, it's
So we've gone a couple of minutes over into the coffee break time. Yes. That was quite a nice flow. Does anybody have any questions? That was it for content and everything else we wanted to go through today. We've got one extra little slide there which shows you how to get access to the tech preview if you'd like to via our tech zone system. But no, thank you ever so much for your time. Anyone have any questions?
I've got one if you don't mind.
Fire away.
Bit of an interesting one. It's just something I've been using this for years, and probably like yourself, massive Apple fan. And I hate using the magic triangle with a passion. Do you guys ever see you releasing some form of single sign-on with other services such as Google or Microsoft Authenticated on the login screen? I know other competitors have done it, and to me, that's one thing that's always been missing from kind of the product, in my opinion. And it's, unless you're pushing down the Apple Enterprise route, you haven't really got many other options.
Yeah, that's a great question. there's a lot of debate on the viability of using cloud-based authentication in the login window. There is a tool from one of our good friends who's just launched a system to allow you to manage shared devices, pretty much with creating an identity with a cloud account. So you can hook it up to Okta, to Azure AD, to Workspace ONE Access, use the actual 2FA factor that you want. It then generates you an account on that Mac. It's a network account essentially on the Mac, and you can then set up your own PIN code for it, and then off you go. With the move to passwordless, and a lot of organizations wanting to use certificates and single sign-on, we're seeing the requests for the Jamf Connect equivalent a little bit less. As people say, it's not really as important to have your Azure AD password on the device as it is to make sure you've got the certs on the device that allow you to use the system extensions and SSO extensions. So there is a tool there. I'll just put that in the chat from one of our good friends that started to build something for that. So that's a great question.
Yeah, cool. It is, and it's just interesting to see where you guys are seeing it go as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then the workflow piece as well is a big one for us. A lot of my challenges is around how do I schedule all of the payload-free packages and apps that I'm deploying. And sometimes that's using a shell script in there to check if you've installed the one you want beforehand, and then running it afterwards and just hoping the retries work. Whereas now we've got a framework to help fix that out. So that's good. Thank you for the question. Anybody else?
Hi, I have a newbie question. This is literally my first day on this VM user group, so thanks for a really excellent presentation. I've got a couple of questions. Number one, in terms of the Workspace ONE piece as a whole, in organizations where you have varying degrees of connectivity, so ranging from fully connected to non-connected, where do you see the Workspace ONE fitting in that kind of environment, specifically maybe defense or that kind of environment where people want this kind of seamless experience across all of their devices, but don't necessarily have all of the internet connectivity available? Number one. My second question is specific to do with the orchestrator piece. In terms of, the PowerShell being quite agnostic, in terms of being able to import scripts to create the flow that you want. How do you get modules, or should I say, does the orchestrator encompass all the existing modules that you get with existing PowerShell? And can that be customized depending on your environment?
So let's answer the PowerShell question, which is a quick one. We use the default PowerShell embedded in Windows. So whichever module is available, just do an import module, and you will have all the module available on the PowerShell. So if you need to install one, you will need to deploy it beforehand, and then after that you can import it and run the script. So it's very straightforward because it's the 5.1 PowerShell. So it's embedded in any Windows. So you won't have any issue for the module importing, doing WMI queries and whatnot. Whichever script you put in there will have the same behavior as a script you would run manually on your Windows. So import module, you could try I haven't tried it, to be completely transparent, the install module, which is quite new, but that should work. I don't see why not. From the moment you doesn't take too long to install because there is a timeout, so we can define as well timeout. But yeah, install module, import module if you need to, and then do your work in the script. That's fine. In terms of fully connected to closed environment, there's different things. It depends on the platform. We see a closed network, which comes with certain implication depending on the platform. So for example, if you take iOS is not capable of being managed without an APNS connection. That's not possible. That's not supported. We can't do it. Android, we can. We have closed network support, and that works great in China as well. because Google doesn't exist in China technically. For example, Windows is extremely complicated when you do modern management in a closed network. There is too much, so we don't support that either. We tried, and a lot of I work personally on the closed network piece, and the amount of work required is horrendous because you have a lot of override here and there, and then there is the push from Microsoft as well that is not supporting it, first of all, and second of all, when you start doing MDM, they tend to plug a lot of things with Azure, with telemetry, with a lot of different things, which when they're not there, which either slow down the Windows, will block certain type of things, etc. If you're in a GPO/AD world with a not connected environment, that's fine, that's working. But when you start doing MDM, that's where the story of cloud network fall apart. But yeah, it depends on which environment. We see some environments from defense having their own network and dedicated flow to APNS if they or G Suite or whichever things they're doing with dedicated flow. Sometimes they have VPNs and stuff with higher security stuff, but it all depends on how much closed. But from a Windows point of view, it's a no-no. From an Android point of view, we can do it. iOS no as well. So it really depends.
Thank you for that. The reason I ask that is because the organizations where I've worked, some of the networks are completely closed. The customer base wants that experience, but obviously because our cybersecurity rules the world, it's never going to happen. It's never going to be connectivity. And then you've got kind of like the business network where there is some connectivity, and then obviously there's the public network where you've got full connectivity. So trying to kind of build an experience, and obviously we just spoke about the user experience being everything that is kind of consistent within expectation across the various levels of platform is really, really important. And to be able to kind of, envisage bringing some kind of proof of concept or, selling the benefits of the platform to the customer, you really want to be able to demonstrate the benefits and how it would work in different environments. So I was just keen to get your view on those perspectives. And so thank you very much.
Well, one last thing on that subject is that the whole Workspace ONE suite is available on premise, right? So as we talk about some limitation per platform, but the product itself can work completely on the closed network if needed. After that, it's just the platform making it more tricky to do.
And it's mostly feature parity across on-prem and cloud, right? Apart from things like some intelligence and orchestrators, some intelligent stuff is cloud-based processed. But in terms of actual underlying features, the on-prem releases are quarterly, and they are at parity. So unlike some other solutions where you've got different on-prem releases with different things, Workspace ONE has always been a unified cloud on-prem platform.
Yep, same code.
Yeah. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Welcome to VMware.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. That was very interesting. So we've overrun a little bit into the break, but that's fine, right? So we've got 15 minutes-ish. No, so we're just about on time. So Kev, are you ready to go? And Gareth?
Give me 2 seconds.
No worries.
Where are we?
All right, because I was looking at the wrong time. We had another 15 minutes, but we haven't.
Yeah, I just need to run through my little routine of DND and logging out of Slack.
A little bit of a dance and standing on one leg.
Yeah, you got to do the rain dance. There we go. I can turn my camera back on now, right? That works.
Oh yeah, I better do that, shouldn't I?
Wow, it looks like I'm sat in the dark here. Let me see if I can fix that. It still looks like I'm sat in the dark, but
it's all right. We know you're up north, so
yeah. Say, Kev, you're fine. You're up north. It's
I'm not north of the wall. Right. So let's get cracking then. So we want to do a
share a screen. And I want to make sure, why can I not share that? Why is it that everybody today seems to be having trouble finding the relevant thing to share, right? Where's screen 2? Okay, let's do it this way instead.
I'm glad it's not just me.
I mean, there we go. There we go. So hopefully folks can see my screen. Gareth's going to help me out with this because yeah, I promised I was going to do this session well, probably a month or so ago, and then I procrastinated because it's what I do. And then I got a nudge off Simon probably about a week and a half ago. I thought, oh, better get started. So this is the first airing of a session that I've kind of been thinking about delivering for quite some time. And I kind of put out some messages on Twitter and said, you know, would people be interested in a thing about kind of presentation skills, public speaking? Because I know it's a really big thing for a number of people. And I remember when I first went to the Yorkshire VMUG way back in the days when the Yorkshire VMUG still existed. And you know, it was I'd kind of sit at the back of the room and not really engage with anything. And I really wanted to be that person up front, but I basically didn't have the cojones to do it. And so I kind of forced myself to get out of the comfort zone a little bit, and I've been continuously doing that ever since. And it's generally been pretty good for my career. It's also a lot of fun. So I kind of wanted to put something together to help people who might want to improve their skills. I'm not saying the way I do things is perfect. This is just basically my experiences, what I've learned over the past few years of standing up in front of a room of people or in front of a camera in this situation and talking about stuff. So with that in mind, there we go. My clicker's already stopped working. Let's try this one again. There we go. So I've already failed one of my tests for later in this. So yeah, with that in mind, I just kind of wanted to say, you know, this is a presentation about presentations, which I thought was quite meta. So those who are fans of Christopher Nolan will understand what that means. Also, a disclaimer: this is not in any way, shape, or form a technical presentation. The whole idea behind this is that it's basically to help people, whatever it is that they want to speak about. If they want to speak about flower arranging, or you know, the things that they're interested in, ham radio, whatever. I guess that's kind of technical. This is the idea is that this should apply to everything. You will not see any CLI in here. There will be no screenshots. It's just me talking about stuff, and Gareth's going to chip in as well. He's got a bunch of stuff as well. And the whole idea behind this is we're going to take this around VMUGs. It's going to grow as a session. And I think I saw Wouter Kirsten's on the he is here as well. So he's going to join in with these as well. It's just a little bit kind of short notice to get 3 of us together. What I am going to try my best to do is finish this bang on time, because I know people want their prizes, because I know Andy Nash is here, and you know, we all want to go home on time or get onto the beers. Unfortunately, I've got calls with the US almost immediately after this. So with that said, this is me. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Kev Johnson. I am a 6-time V expert. I work in tech marketing for Runecast, who are a software provider. That's not really important. I'm not here on behalf of Runecast. I'm here as a community member right now. I am a recovering sysadmin and a technical architect. So I did a lot of, you know, I headed up a team of consultants for a number of years, and then I jumped ship, went to work for VMware for 18 months or so, and then I ended up at Runecast. And you know, it's great to kind of have that background. I've worked a lot of time like doing things like help desk, so I kind of like to think that I've got a really good set of experience when it comes to talking about the technical side of things, especially when it comes to the customer experience. I am a recovering certifications addict. I've done 1 certification in the past 12 months. I did 5 the previous 12 months. And in the 12 months prior to that, I think I did 18. So I'm slowly weaning myself off. I think next year I'm probably going to do 2, but I can't quite go cold turkey yet. I am also a proud Twitter addict. So if anyone's got any follow-up or they just want to basically troll me, you can find me on Twitter as @Kev_Johnson. I am a periodic podcaster. So we haven't put an episode out in quite some time, but we do still have our intentions of doing this. So I'm one of the hosts of the Open TechCast podcast, along with a bunch of people. I think everyone else is a kind of core LonVMUG member. So I'm just a token northern of that. I'm a general rent-a-mouth, so I will talk about anything, and that's probably one of the reasons that I'm here. And my first LonVMUG was in April 2018. So back in April 2018, I was kind of looking for something to do. I'd already done one VMUG talk for the Northeast VMUG the previous autumn, and I got bitten, and I was like, right, okay, this is great. I love this feeling of just standing and talking to people or talking at people. That was, you can still get the slides and stuff. That was quite a fun presentation on an incredibly dry topic, which was GDPR. So I know some of the people who were in the audience that day are here today as well. So thanks for that. I'm just going to hand over to Gareth to introduce himself.
So hi, everyone. I'm not only here as part of the committee today, I'm actually trying to help everyone out here. Like Kev, I'm a 6-time V expert. And along with that, once Kev clicks, which he's beat me to it, I'm one of the resident V expert pros until any announcements come out for the UK. I'm also, like Kev, I actually work for Ringcast. We're not here to try and win you over. I'm one of the systems engineers, or we've seen some really interesting. What do you do on your census? I nearly did put down Code Monkey, but I'm sure that would have upset someone somewhere officially. Before that, I was a system admin for a lot of well-known companies, be that charities, big companies that you might buy utilities from. I've been there, done that, got burnt many late nights. And that's where the next line comes from. I'm a recovering event addict. I can't even remember when the first time I come to a LonVMUG was, though. It was that long ago. I just know we were in a building way before the current one. And yes, as terrible it is, as much an introvert, I am missing in-person events. Roll on the next VM world. If you want to catch me out on something, I'm on Twitterverse. We don't have Jane here. She tells us to use Twitterverse more. At Gareth Edwards 86. I'm also doing the podcast with Kev. We promise we will be back on air soon. I'm not doing very well at the cat herding. Whoops comes to mind. And if I'm not ranting about tech, many of you will be bored about me talking about my EV or eco stuff, and I still blame Joe Bagley and many of the other London VMUGers for the reason why I have what's on my driveway and now why I have a very large, basically UPS on the side of my house.
Hope that doesn't blow up or anything like that. That would be bad stuff, right?
No, it would be bad, but it's been quite nice the fact we have had some power cuts and I've just been able to sit here, carry on working with no care in the world.
You can go off people, right? So yeah, just to kind of set a little bit of an agenda, we're going to kind of take you from the idea of, where do you start? How do you figure out what you're going to speak about? And that's quite a privileged place to be. And sometimes, usually for your job, you'll just get told that you're going to deliver a talk on a thing. And that's fine. But if you're going to do it as something to kind of get some experience, maybe you're going to do it at a VMUG. We can help you figure out where you need to begin, how you structure your content, how you put your actual presentation together. So there's a lot of preparation and things like that to do. Some tips on what you can do to rehearse to help just make sure that everything is ready, and if anything trips you up on as you go through the presentation, you're going to be in a good place. One of the things that rehearsal can really help with actually is timekeeping, and one of the things that I discovered really early on was that when I get nervous, and everyone gets nervous before they do these things, by the way. So if anyone is worried about stage fright or anything like that, everybody gets it. If you're at VMworld and you've got 500 people, you still get stage fright. It's the same as if you're talking to 3 or 4 people in a room. It's absolutely fine. But one of the things that I noticed happened is that I would naturally speak quicker. So what I actually ended up doing was I would record myself doing sessions, sometimes as a rehearsal, sometimes I'd just force myself to watch them after the event. And that really helped me to realize, you know, the things that I need to improve. So just taking more breaths, making sure that I'm actually covering all of the stuff that I need to cover and not going off on tangents, and looking out for ticks and trigger words and fillers and things like that. So everybody has them. I know I still have them, but it's a constant thing to do to kind of help improve the process. Talk about you know, the kind of equipment you might be using. Now, if you're in, you know, if we were in doing things in person back in London, then you know, the kit is pretty much there. You might take a laptop with you. You might have a little clicker like this, but that's probably everything that you need there. If you're doing things online, then you know, you might the things that you need to be aware of are slightly different. We're going to talk about doing the thing, which is kind of it's what it's all about. This session is actually doing the presentation, and then we'll look at some things that you might want to do afterwards, and that might include things like forcing yourself to watch your presentation over and over and over again until you get over that thing, which is that nobody can stand listening to their own voice recorded. So yeah, you've got to do those things. So I guess where we start is where we start, and this is really simple. People overthink this a lot, but in terms of where you start, you just need to think, what story do you want to tell? Because every presentation that you do is you telling a story, and it doesn't matter whether it's you know, whether the story is this is how you do this stuff. This is how you deploy this technology. This is how you manage these devices. You just
to mute by accident.
Am I the only person who can't
Muted himself? No, Kev has muted himself.
No, I just managed to hit something. Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah. That was obviously deliberate.
Yep.
Well done. That was good.
Yeah. Who knows how I did that? I wasn't even touching my equipment there. That came out wrong, didn't it? But yeah, see, we're telling a story, so it doesn't matter whether you're talking about you know, how your project went from one place to another place, which technologies you're using. You're just telling a story, and when you couch it like that, it really helps to put some structure in. And there we go. That's the next thing that's broken. So let's try that one again. There we go. And so one of the first things I want to point out is that this guy, Steve Jobs, it's a fairly well-known quote, is that people who know what they're talking about don't need PowerPoint. For the rest of us mortals, we're probably going to be stuck with it for a little bit. But I see you there, Andrew Nash, silently judging my bookshelf. My bookshelf is great. It's just got loads of travel books on there. Anywho, back to this. So yeah, the PowerPoint is the one place most people start when they think about a presentation. It's like, okay, I need a presentation. You open PowerPoint and then you go, okay, where's my inspiration? And people make bad presentations by doing that. So one of the things I wanted to kind of cover here was that, you know, you don't start with PowerPoint. PowerPoint is actually about halfway through the process. And I'll show you how I built the structure for this. I say I built the structure, Gareth helped out, Wouter helped out. So, you know, this is a thing that we put together, a bit of kind of just some work we put together. Consider the style and length. It's really easy to build something and think, okay, well, maybe I need to break it down into 4 or 5 different sections, and each one of those sections needs to be this long. You don't really need to think about it in that depth, but you do need to think, okay, how long is the session? And so you've got kind of markers in your mind that kind of show you, you know, let's say, for instance, you get 2/3 of the way through your content and you realize you've only got 5 minutes left. You've got a problem at that point because you either need to skip some content or you need to go through it very quickly. So you need to have these markers in your mind so you know exactly when you've kind of crossed those lines, and just keep an eye on the clock. The words on the slide are there basically as a framework. They're there to keep you on track. you do not need to put all of the text that you're going to, basically everything that you're going to say on those slides. Now, I know we've all been at events where every time a slide goes up, someone holds up an iPad and takes a photo of the slide. So for those people, it might be beneficial to have all of the content on the slide, but generally when you're doing a presentation, you need to either have everything on the slide and people won't be listening to you, or everyone needs to be listening to you, and then nobody's looking at the slides. So it's really important, if you're adding any value there, you're not just stood there. Oh, Bob McDonnell entered the waiting room. Don't know who Bob is. It's really important that you're not just stood there reading off a list of words, because it's not compelling. People will not pay attention to it. And there we go. Bob is he's taken the focus from, there we go. Also, live demos are cool. I love live demos, and I love doing them all the time. If you're going to do a live demo, please, for the love of God, make sure you've got a canned demo version of it as well, especially if you need to connect over a VPN to a remote lab somewhere in order to deliver that demo, because the Wi-Fi in the places that you're presenting can be terrible. All kinds of things go wrong. It's always really important to have a failback. But also, don't think that just because you've got a cool piece of technology, and this is probably a little bit more specific to technology than anything else, but just because you've got a cool new program and you want to tell people how it works, just running through some CLI isn't necessarily the best way of delivering that. Sometimes a diagram or a video makes more sense, but just be aware, if you are going to do live demos, you must sacrifice a goat to the demo gods, otherwise things will go badly. But most importantly, and this is going to be a theme, I want you to tell a story. I'm going to hand over to Gareth for this bit because it's time for me to have some tea.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this is a really pertinent slide for me. Is I wouldn't be where I am today giving this talk, and I certainly wouldn't be a leader. I'm going to call out all my co-leaders here, and also people who aren't with us and have moved on. You've got to throw your hat in the ring. You've got to commit to this. I did it, and as Kev said, it is terrifying at first. Getting that thing in a diary, committing to it, sending that form, you will sweat, you will panic afterwards, but trust me, it's worth it. And how do you start some of these things? Is it work? Is it setting a meeting up with your colleagues and saying, I want to talk about this subject? I put down here local user group. Sometimes it's talking, well, it's better talking to strangers. Going, you part of the fear with some people when I've been coaching them is that they're so scared what their peers will think of them by giving this talk. So maybe go somewhere else, go to a VMware, go to a local user group or something like that where you can give a talk. And it doesn't even have to be on that subject. Again, something that I've heard renounced again and again is Toastmasters. I know there's people on here that have done it. It's something I still want to look into, because I once you get into this, you will realize you will still have to get better, and there's many ways of doing this. Even what we're doing today, me and Kev, we are getting better in the process by doing this. One thing that I look out for is look out for the VMware call to papers. I got into this via the VFaction many years ago, where we only had to do it for 10 minutes. Lightning talk, we're all up there and everyone voted on our talks. Yes, that added a bit of scariness to it, but at the same point, 10 minutes to then get possibly what I think was quite a set of cool prizes at the time. Sometimes incentives work. So if you're trying to mentor someone through it, maybe say, right, I'll take you to lunch, or, get something out of it. Or, if you're crazy like me, you then move on to silly things like going to talk at VMworld or AWS or Ignite, or dare I say it, you can shoot for the moon and go for a TED talk. I don't think I'll ever get there. I would love to get there one day, but at the same point, you look at those people and, they will go through the same set of nerves and same prep what you're going through right now. It's no different. They've potentially just done this quite a few times and have just learned the skills.
Yeah. And I guess kind of just to kind of cycle back a little bit, I mentioned before you even get started with PowerPoint, you need to come up with some way of figuring out how things are going to plug together. And this, what you see on screen here is it's the mind map that we used while we were building this session. So we've got the cover. We've basically decided, let's dump all of our thoughts into one place, and then from there we'll kind of figure out how they plug together. And spending that time, I think we probably spent 2 or 3 hours between us, just kind of dropping all of our brains into that, and then building that structure. And then from there, then you're allowed to open PowerPoint. And that's a really important thing, is, you know, don't touch PowerPoint until you have that structure, until you have that story that you're looking to deliver. So yeah, you may now open PowerPoint. And, you know, I was looking for a nice image of Clippy, but it turns out there are no nice images of Clippy. So you just got some paper clips instead. So in terms of putting together your slides, there's a few things that I always try to do whenever I'm building a presentation. The first thing is to introduce myself. People are here to listen to what you want to say. They want to know who you are. So it doesn't have to be massively in depth. You don't have to cover lots and lots, you know, what your kids' names are. In fact, please don't do that. It'd be a terrible thing to do from an InfoSec perspective. But once you've introduced yourself, it will really help to relax you, and it will put the audience at ease as well. And relaxing is really important, because again, one of the other things that I found that happens when people get nervous, and again, everyone gets nervous, is that you speak too quickly and your breathing goes out of whack. And if your breathing goes out of whack, and I've done this myself a number of times, you'll find yourself halfway through a statement and you'll have to stop and just go, okay, and then you carry on. And it's not a fun thing to happen. It kind of feels a little bit like a panic attack. So relaxing is really important. You then set your agenda, and this doesn't have to be a really strict a really strict agenda. It can just be, you know, we're going to talk about this thing and why I care about it. That's all it has to be. Maybe if you're doing a longer presentation, you might want to build something that's kind of a little bit more structured, because that might help you, again, in your head, have those markers so that you know, okay, right, well, we've got to this point in the presentation, and I know that we've got 20 minutes of content and we've only got 18 minutes left. Maybe we'll speed things up a little bit so that I can cover everything without having to absolutely gallop through the last bits. So setting your agenda is really important. Tell your story. And that's the thing. You're doing the thing, you're telling your story. You go all the way through all of the stuff that you've already planned because you've built out your mind map, or, you know, however you've built that structure. You can now just put it all together. You can build some slides, you can find some cool images, some videos, some memes. Memes always go down really well. And again, I find that the memes help me to relax, they help an audience to relax. But yeah, just tell the story. And if it's something you're passionate about, this should be the easy part. And then you get all the way to the end and you wrap up and you're done. Unless there's going to be a Q&A. And often it seems to be good form to try to keep a little bit of time at the end to kind of cover off a question and answers. Because the worst thing that can happen is you get to the end and you go, okay, has anybody got any questions? And nobody says anything, and you go, great, okay, everybody's just got 10 minutes of their life back. You can go have a coffee. Yeah, great. Alternatively, you get 10 minutes of questions. The third option, which seems to happen at every single VMworld session I've ever been to, is you get to the end, there's 10 minutes for Q&A. Any questions? Everybody sits on their hands. And then, okay, right, cool, we'll wrap it up. And then immediately a queue starts at the front of the stage. And so the presenter might have another session to go to, and they kind of have to answer lots and lots and lots of questions in no time at all. But yeah, people don't like asking questions generally in front of a crowd. If you can encourage people to do that, then you know that you're doing a much better job than most presenters do. There will be a Q&A at the end of this session. And yeah, once you get to the end, you've done your Q&A. Remind people who you are, because you introduced yourself. You gave your name at the beginning of the session. You've gone all the way through. A lot of people in that session probably don't know who you are. So they might have not really paid any attention to your name or your Twitter account or whatever. They get all the way through. They go, okay, that was a really good presentation. I'd like to ask you some more questions, but maybe this isn't the forum for it. Maybe I want to send you an email or something. Remind people at the end who you are so that they've got a chance to kind of grab those details and they can come back to you. Giving out free Workstation and Fusion licenses to people who ask questions helps. Yeah, I've been there and done that to a lot of people. Unfortunately, yeah, that's probably why I don't work for VMware anymore. So that's the actual, everything that you're planning. You're building your presentation. You've got to the end, and you think, okay, great. I think I'm ready to do this. But I would urge you, especially if it's your first time, but regardless of if it's your first time, do some rehearsal. Now, this could be you set up a free Zoom account and you record your session, and then you watch yourself back and you see how you did for time. You figure out the bits that you might need to trim out, and it will always be things that you need to cut out. You very, very rarely get to the point where you do the rehearsal and go, I need another 15 minutes of content, because you're building this thing that you're passionate about and you want to cram as much in as possible, and you always have to take stuff out. So yeah, you could just wing it, but please don't wing it. Otherwise you'll end up like me. I would not recommend winging it. I've done it a couple of times in my life. Definitely don't wing it if it's your first time. I winged it the first presentation I did, and this was at Northeast VMUG. And one of the things they do at the Northeast VMUG was they open the bar at lunchtime. And so, for the nerves, I was kind of like, okay, well, I'll have a beer. And then I think my session was on, and I think it was the same first VMUG that Christopher Lewis was presenting it as well. So we were both there, both absolutely bricking it. And I was just like, I'll just have a beer. I'll just have another beer. And then I got to 4 o'clock when I was due to go on stage. And I was like, I was pretty relaxed, let's put it that way. And it went really, really well. Apart from the fact that I think that session, it was supposed to be a 40-minute session, and it was basically just an open Q&A about how people feel about how they develop their careers and things like that. And it was supposed to be 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and it ran for an hour and a half. Now, this was cool because the bar was open. Everyone was just going and grabbing a beer and then joining back in again. So we just kind of ran until people ran out of questions. But I would not recommend it. Probably don't get drunk before doing it as well, unless it's Northeast VMUG, in which case, just go for it. So yeah, record yourself on Zoom. That's a really easy way to do it. There's also, if you've got a fairly modern version of PowerPoint, they've just introduced this new feature called Rehearse with Coach. So you can just talk to your laptop, it will record it, and it will give you analysis. It will tell you where you're speaking too quickly, what your filler words are, and things that you might need to look at. But even if you don't have that version, the rehearse timings capability has been there for some time, so that can be really helpful as well. Most importantly, ask a friend. Everybody, I think I could probably speak for everybody who's here today when I say everybody wants people to succeed. So if you're thinking about doing a presentation, you want to kind of break those nerves a little bit, then a VMUG is a really great place to do it. When you do it for a company, yeah, there's often, people want to chuck you some awkward questions to handle, but at a VMUG, people just want you to succeed. So I would really, really urge you, if it's something that if you're kind of on the fence about doing this, get in touch with the call for papers. I think I've got a slide a little bit later just to repeat what Simon said at the beginning. So we all want to help people succeed, and everybody's super friendly. So even if things go badly, it's cool because you can just go have a beer afterwards. So in terms of equipment, this is less about a list of kit that you need, because everyone uses different equipment. But in terms of your kit, make sure you check all of this stuff. Check it twice, because if you don't, I plugged this in earlier and it's like, okay, it was fine. And then 5 minutes before, yeah, the battery was nearly dead. I don't know how it did that. The battery in this thing lasts months, but there we go. So check everything twice. Check your laptop. Make sure you've closed off any, if you've got any other programs open. You may remember at the beginning, I closed off Slack. I put do not disturb mode on. There's nothing more annoying than when someone's doing a presentation and they've got Outlook popping up in the bottom right corner of the screen, or people getting messages on Teams just saying, you know, what are we doing later? Make sure you've got rid of all of those distractions. If you've got a clicker, make sure it's charged. Make sure you know, you've got your software. If you have any software that it needs, make sure that's running. Using a microphone, make sure again your microphone's plugged in. It's all good. I'm using a Lavalier mic here today, but I could just use the mics in these. Lighting is really important as well. And in fact, let me just show you what happens if we don't have lighting. So if I don't have any lighting in this room, because the window is behind me with the sun, so this is what I look like with no lights, which many people would say is an improvement, but it doesn't help you get your message across. So lights is really, really important. That's a really good point as well, Lawrence. If you're at a venue and they have a sound engineer, you know, listen to them. Microphone technique is really important, and a lot of people think they know how to use a microphone, and yeah, they don't, and it can be awful. The
amount of clipping when people just horrendous.
Yep. Yeah.
As Kev says,
you know, if you're just tapping your mic or you're banging it on something, it's not good.
As Kev says, if you look at this, lighting is so important, because look at me, I'm now sat in the pitch black because of how I have everything set up. And also, don't go overboard. You can get too distracted with decent lighting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just really important that your audience can see you. So again, if this was in a venue, there would probably be someone there to make sure that you can be seen. If you're doing things on the internet, and I imagine we're still going to be doing things on the internet for at least a little while yet, then make sure you've got that. If you're using a webcam, make sure the webcam is in focus. If you're using one of those really, really horrible, if you're using the built-in webcam on your MacBook Pro, which looks like it's basically covered in Vaseline, please don't use that. Try and get a decent camera. You don't need to go overboard and use a DSLR or anything like that, but having a half decent camera will make a world of difference. And yeah, one of the other things that I've not got on here actually that I thought of earlier today is virtual backgrounds can be really distracting. I know don't lube your webcam. Well, love your webcam, don't lube it, yeah. Yeah, virtual backgrounds. So I remember way back a year ago when everyone had to start working from home, Zoom virtual backgrounds were the absolute dogs. People were loving them. Now, I think they're fine. If I'm going to use a virtual background, I try to use quite a plain one. This is not a virtual background. This is legit a bunch of my books, and there's some Lego and things like that. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff there. But if you're going to use a virtual background, it's probably not a good idea to move your hands around a lot unless you've got a proper green screen, because the virtual background, it looks nasty. So there's another little free tip for you. I'm going to add that to the mind map after this session. Oh, no, I did have virtual background. Brilliant. Batteries, anything that runs on batteries, make sure they're charged. Make sure you've got a spare pair if you need to be able to hot swap them for anything. And then check your lights again, because the lights really do make, as we've seen, a lot of difference. Anyone going to take a hazard at what the reference is here? Anybody know who that is? I'm disappointed in all you. That is Betty Boo doing the do. Yeah, there we go. Alaric got it just in time. So doing the do, doing the thing that you want to do. You've just going there. You've built all of your presentation is there. You've checked your equipment is ready, and then now it's the moment of truth. So go in there. Before you go in there, go to the toilet. Make sure you've got a drink, and make sure that you've eaten recently. There is nothing worse than getting 10 minutes into a 1-hour presentation and getting a rumble in your tummy. Also, yeah, you're gonna get thirsty, so make sure you've got something to drink. Everyone just pretend I said Kubernetes. And food as well. If your blood sugar's low, you're not gonna give the most energetic of presentations. Make sure you close all your applications, put do not disturb mode on, only have the things running that you need. It's going to minimize the chance that anything else is going to go wrong. Stand if you can. Standing really helps when you're doing a presentation, because it allows you to breathe more naturally. Now, if you don't have the option, if you don't have a nice standing desk or something like that, then one of the things you can do is you can just kind of get some Amazon boxes and balance them up. And I've seen, people like Steve Foskett from Tech Field Day, he does exactly that. He's just got a bunch of cardboard boxes that he puts his laptop on top of. That's how he does his standing desk. But it makes a world of difference when presenting if you're able to stand up. And again, breathing. It's if you find yourself trying to fit too many words in, your breathing is going to go to pot, and you're going to have those pregnant pauses that you don't really want to have to deal with. And then all you have to do, walk on stage, there's a round of applause, the lights go up, relax and tell your story. And that's all you need to do. You just have to tell your story. As has been mentioned in here, if you're looking for participation, having some form of swag to give away really helps. Unfortunately, because this is a community session, I don't have any swag to give away, people, but I'm sure there's some prizes to be had at the end of the day, and Andy Nash will definitely win one of them. Do you want to take this bit, Gareth?
Yep. I hate you, Kev. I hate you.
Come on, we love you really, Andy. Again, we've kind of gone on about it, and even during this, I'm going to be honest, my nerves go up and down. I do what Kev does. I panic. I speak fast. And how do you keep those nerves in check? There's so many ways of doing this. You get the good old-fashioned ones of what to focus on and what to focus on. You can probably name the amount of films or animated things you've watched where they say, go view everyone being naked. Trust me, that does not help. I have done that honestly once, and I think that put me off even more. And then you just get in this vicious loop, and you either start smirking or you just cannot get that thought out of your head, and it's just a plane crash. So a few other ones that have helped me throughout time is if you're in a big auditorium and you are genuinely sweating, got the lights on you, it's going to sound strange. I learned this from stage acting. Is focus at the back of the room, or find someone at the back of the room, or a person, or now what I'm doing with my camera is focus on that and just keep looking at it. Not only does it help the audience feel you're engaged with them, it can also just help you just calm, relax. You're not getting distracted by the things going on. Here, I've put a sign or something behind your webcam when you're talking into it to keep that focus, keep that gaze. Mine's a picture of my family because it always makes me smile. I look at it, makes you smile. Cheesy as it is, that can really, really, really help. One thing that is, I don't think I can even quantify how much of a good bit of information this came across to me, is that I got to the end of a presentation at, ironically, a VMware, and someone said to me is, remember audience choice. And I think that is by far the best thing. Ignore all the other things that I've just said. All of you here, you've made a choice to sit here to listen to me and Kev. As a presenter, if you get that in your head when you go up on stage, especially if you've got a multi-track event, those people have chosen to come into the room. Those people have chosen to hear what you've got to say. So don't be fearful of them. They're not come there to, get your opinion and then heckle you for it. As Kev says, genuinely with a lot of user groups and even VMworlds and big things like that, people have come to hear your point of view, if that's yours, the company's, or whatever, and they want you to succeed. So I've even had it in one of my talks. Someone's called me out on something partway through, and rather than letting it rattle my cage, gone, well, actually, no, that is another way of doing it. Don't be discouraged by people coming up with things in the middle of your talk. Just because you've done it one way doesn't mean it's right or wrong, whatever, just move on and just go back and reflect on it. But yeah, just view people as your peers and friends, like we are now. You've chosen to come listen to us, and when you get up there, we're hoping that people will do the same with you. And I've just looked at the chat. Go with the eyes on your webcam. That I see again put me off. I would have giggled at that.
Well, one of the other things, actually, especially when you're in kind of like an auditorium setting, so you might have a lot of people all kind of looking at you. And one of the really primal things that happens there is your lizard brain thinks, it kind of makes you feel like you are the prey. So, here's a pack of lions and they're here to eat you. But actually, if you think about how lions work, it's kind of the other way around. They don't go after one animal; they go after all of them. So actually, they're your prey. So just go out and just smash it, basically.
Just slay it. Is that what you're trying to say, Kev? Just slay it.
Oh dear, that's terrible. So yeah, we've kind of already mentioned breathing and the importance of that, and the importance of keeping to time. And with that in mind, we do have about 5 minutes. So we are actually getting towards the end of the end of the session, which is cool. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that. But I just kind of wanted to, once we get to the end of the presentation, so a few things are going to happen. And yeah, there's my Kylie Minogue poster. I used to have that when I was a teenager. I had a big thing for everyone had a big thing for Kylie Minogue. Let's face it. But afterwards, a few things are going to happen. First thing that you really need to do, especially if this is your first time and you're not sure if it's something you want to repeat, is you should ask for feedback. And this can be really hard to do because you get to the end and you've got this rush of endorphins. You're kind of like, I did it. I'm going to throw up in the toilet. Please just ask people for feedback, and they will, if they will give you that feedback, it can be really helpful. If you go to a session at an event and there's a survey at the end of that session, please fill it in with honest feedback, because it's the only way people get to improve. So do solicit for feedback. And then immediately sign up to do another talk, because you've still got those endorphins going through. So come back once you've gone and thrown up in the toilet, come back, find out somewhere where you can sign up and do another talk, because just having something there that will kind of focus your mind and say, okay, right, well, I've done this, I'm going to do something else now. It can help you really improve, instead of going, okay, I've done it, I don't know if I want to do that again. I'll see how I feel in 6 months. If you do that, you'll get to 6 months and you're basically right back at the beginning again. It's that cycle of continuous improvement, really. And close the loop. Make sure everybody understood what you were trying to get across. If there are any questions and you're not sure if you answered them properly during the Q&A, try and find that person after the event and just kind of say, okay, well, maybe there's something for both of you to learn at that point in time. I think the next slide is Gareth. Yeah, okay. He really wanted to. God, that GIF does not animate very well, does it?
It works fine on my end. Oh, that's rubbish. Oh, see, that takes the beauty away.
Honestly, it worked fine for me as well. So worked fine in test. It's an ops problem now.
Yeah, this is one where, again, when you're doing talks, I'm trying to keep it light, keep it fun as well. But for me, public speaking, I try and compare it a bit to like muscle builders, and everyone's like, "What are you going on about?" For me, they've got a lot of, a lot of confidence, a lot of charisma, and they're really good at what they do. And for me, I think public speaking is the same. You get stronger and stronger with every session you do. And you'll build confidence the more and more. You rep. I just do it just for the laugh. Get the guns out. But it's true, and the more and more you do this, I really made Kev spit his tea. That was worth it. It's just one of those things, I'm going back to, ironically, doing some strength training in that now, and it just makes you think the more and more you do it, the stronger you get. And, even with that as well, when you are training for those kind of things, you will have bad days. You will have days that will suck. It will be painful. You'll mess up. Don't worry about it. You may do a presentation and you do go over time, which we might well do today, but that is the beauty of it. You get better and better, even on the bad days. And, don't try and, split a log in two in one go. That was the reason I used the GIF, Kev, just so you know. Don't aim for the big leagues. It's fine to start small. Don't think you've got to snap, a whole log into. If it's a stick, chatting with some friends or whatever, go for it. You've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the more you do it, the better you get. I'm very conscious myself that there's a lot I can do to improve. And actually, just since we've got a few seconds, I just wanted to plug some books. So, Persuasive Presentations by Nancy Duarte, or Duarte, I don't know how it's pronounced, but that is a really good book about the theories that help people to get messages across. And also by the same person, there's Resonate, which is again about building really compelling Really compelling presentations. And finally, Slideology. Again, same person. They all kind of talk about how PowerPoint is basically the worst thing to happen to presentations, because people become overly rigid in how they structure things. And there's lots and lots and lots in in all of those books. They're not the cheapest, but they're definitely worth investing in. On that note, we've got less than a minute, so this is a perfect opportunity for me to roll out the next GIF, which is the Q&A GIF. So yeah, that's awesome. So if anyone has any questions, I think there's been a bunch kind of coming through as we've been going. I think we've probably covered most of them. Let's have a look. Only got 31 watchers now. How's the nerves? To be honest, I get more nervous with smaller crowds. So, once you get to the point where there are lights required, and so you can't really see the people, I find them a lot easier. The smaller events, if you've got 5, 10, 15 people, it really feels a lot more intense. So they're still a lot of fun, but I get more nervous in that way. Yeah, I went silent. That's all good. Prep. Yep, swag. Good tip there from Chris around the rehearsed timings. Yeah, it's just one of the options that you've got there. I still prefer to click through myself. Toastmasters, Dave. I know Dave is he's a big fan of Toastmasters. He's been doing a lot with them. And Presentations Zen by Gar Reynolds. I shall check that one out.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. The final, almost final slide. We are over now. I'm going to blame Gareth for this one. Yeah, I do appear to have some lag going on here. I'm really sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on. It's my MacBook has just decided that it's time to. It's the end of the workday or something. Again, just a reminder for the call for papers that Simon mentioned earlier. The VMUG absolutely thrives when the audience joins in. It's a really great place to learn your craft, and it can be really good for your career and just in general for it's good lols. Everyone's really friendly. So please, if you've got a story to tell, do submit it through the call for papers site there. And on that note, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to remind you who I am and who Gareth is when my slide flips over. Come on, I can't even blame Workspace ONE for this. There we go. So I'm at Kev_Johnson on Twitter. Gareth is at Gareth Edwards 86. It's a good job I didn't put my year of birth in there anyway. Let's put it that way. Otherwise, this could be embarrassing. But thank you very much for your time. I hope it's been helpful. I'm going to hang around. I'm going to turn the camera off and try and find out what's going on with the video. Off, oh, it's already off. Right, brilliant.
It's already died for some reason.
Yeah, I think I've got a temperature thing going on here. But yeah, okay, thanks very much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Cool, thanks very much. Kev, you live in the north, so I'm not entirely certain you have got a temperature thing.
It's a temperature thing.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. That was really useful, and I'll try and remember some of those tips in my blurb I'm about to make a right old mess of. So one thing I would say on the call for papers as well is it's really useful if people submit their ideas ahead of me just picking people randomly and bugging them, which is quite often what I do. Right. So let me just switch over. We've got very short closing deck, which hopefully is going to work. So hopefully you can see a PowerPoint slide. So thanks very much. This was obviously our 25th of March meeting. So we have recorded the content here today. So we're going to get that chopped up and put up onto our YouTube channel. So if you follow our Twitter handles, we can certainly let you know once that's available. We are definitely better at doing this than maybe we have been in the past. So, we hope to get it up within the same year. And again, for anybody who hasn't seen it, we do have actually quite a large library of video from, I think it probably goes back at least 9 years worth of content that we had there from the from the UK VMUG. So, typically we normally only recorded events from the national event, but obviously we have the last year's worth of footage from the London meetings, given we've been doing them on Zoom. So you've got all the sessions there to go and have a look at. Just while we were having a bit of a dig around, potentially having to dig out the emergency slide deck when we thought we might be down a presenter, I did find this deck that we put together in 2010. So I thought it might be quite amusing to have a quick look for a quick where are they now for these products. So vShield. That seems to be a product that turned into an API that then disappeared. vCloud Director, not that I'm slightly annoyed, it's still a product. Unfortunately, it's no longer recommended for private cloud, but it is still around in the public cloud space, but obviously means it has a much smaller user base than it used to. And does anybody remember the vSphere app for the iPad? That thing that they demoed?
I think
it's back again.
It's back again.
You can use that now.
It's buggy, but it's back.
Yeah, I remember they demoed that and everybody went, wow, that'll be really cool. I will use that absolutely every day. I think I installed it and used it once. I don't know about anybody else.
It's one of those things that sound really cool, but no one uses.
Yes, I think so. So we obviously ran a competition through the day, given it's Census Month here in the UK, for the best or most amusing job description. So Lawrence, you've won that post. Lawrence, I'm not sure if you're still on, but if you want to drop me a line with your postal address, I have a pile of high quality VMUG goodies that I will send you in the post.
Excellent, thank you very much.
No worries, so thanks very much. So these are our dates for next year. So, we will be back here again on the 15th of July, same format. I think the sign-in's actually already open for that event, if I remember rightly. The agenda will be getting fleshed out across the next couple of weeks. UK VMUG will be November 25th. Like we said, based on, I think, what we saw from the poll earlier, there is some interest in doing some degree of face-to-face, but at least for the UK event, we are somewhat beholden to the kind of overall VMUG organization as well. So we'll take that under advisement and we'll have a look. 2022 dates we will be posting up on the website, and I suspect what will probably happen is closer to the July event we will have a better idea where we'll be for 2022, because obviously that does depend on Tech UK, which is our normal face-to-face venue, and their schedule and their reopening plans. But do keep an eye on the Twitter handles, and if you have any feedback, please do drop us a line either via Twitter or email addresses there as well. Kev showed this earlier, so I won't bemoan it too much, but that is, I've seen someone has already submitted for the call for papers today, which is great, so thanks very much. Anybody else who has an idea, that is the URL to place those suggestions. So with that, I'd like to thank you. Thanks very much. This was been a really good day, I think. So, we try not to make the Zoom day too long, and we like to try and wrap up with something a little bit informal. So if you want to grab yourselves a drink, turn your camera on, and we'll have a bit of a chat. I unfortunately have to drop for a virtual parents evening, but I will hopefully be back before things wrap up. So thanks very much, everybody, and if I don't speak to you later in the day, I hope to see you again next time.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you for doing that.
Simon, you just got to crack a quick V beer before the parents' evening, set the right tone.
Yeah, actually, that would probably not be the most correct. I will think about that. Maybe I'll take the beer to the parents' evening.
See what I was saying.
Shameless style.
You'd feel compelled to show them that it says 0 on it or 0%.
Yeah.
Mind your sun's out, so it's a nice. We finally got some sun this side.
Oh yeah, it started raining here.
So,
if they're at an upmarket school, you'll be taking gin and tonic to the parents' meeting.
No, they have it there, don't they?
Yeah, I don't think turning up drunk to parents' evening is quite what you're supposed to do, is it?
They're not going to deliver
GM2 on myself.
Vodka looks like water in a glass. So.
I like your thinking.
If you turned up there drunk, then you're probably going to help your kids by setting lower expectations of the teachers, right?